Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've been well, and I hope the new year is treating you right so far. For me, not so great so far. It's been alright. I was going to do a different video this week. It was going to be a scripted weird peripheral video, but I couldn't locate the peripheral that I was going to do the video on, so I had to order one on eBay, which means the video is delayed until next week. But this week we're going to be talking about something a bit different. Obviously it's going to be unscripted because I didn't really foresee these circumstances, but we're going to be talking about the PlayStation 5. I was actually able to get my hands on one recently, and I've been playing it for a little while now, and I figured I'd do a video just sort of talking about the major things that I've seen with the console, the good things and the bad things, and where I think the console is going to be going from here on out. So, first off, let's talk about the obvious improvements and the big things that Sony touted when they were announcing the PS5, mainly the graphics, the graphical upgrade, and the SSD. So, let's start with the graphics. And as you might expect, they're really good. You probably don't need me to tell you that, but yeah, they're really good. I can tell you firsthand, they actually are as good as people are saying they are, and as good as Sony touted they would be. There are times where I'm just like, is this a movie? Am I watching a movie right now, or am I playing a game? And, is this real life? I honestly had times where I was questioning whether, I was playing Ghost of Tsushima, and I was like, is this real life? Am I just watching, an actual movie right now? What's going on? So yeah, the graphics are very, very good. As for the SSD, you probably don't need me to tell you this once again, but it is very fast. And it's a good quality of life improvement, especially in games where you have fast travel. You can just kind of say, I want to go from this side of the map to the other side, and then it'll just load you in within half a second. It's really quite good. And if this was a PC gaming video, we were talking about a PC gaming rig with a really nice SSD in it, that's kind of where the conversation would end. It would be just a nice quality of life improvement. But seeing as this is an actual console, there is the potential for developers to utilize this SSD in different ways that you couldn't really utilize it on a PC gaming game. You're able to actually maximize the potential of it because you know that all of the people that are going to be playing your game are going to be using this hardware, at least in terms of PS5 exclusives. And that's where I think the real potential of the SSD comes into play with the PS5. I'm really looking forward to seeing where the games can go with, the knowledge that we're all going to have this really great SSD on our devices. We've seen just a little hint of what it can do in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart with the Rift Tether, where you just kind of pull yourself into the Rift, and also the pocket dimensions, where you just kind of just walk into another area, and there's just no loading at all. But I don't think that's really the furthest that we can possibly go with an SSD of this caliber. So I'm really excited to see what the games will look like towards the tail end of the PS5's life cycle. Now, the one downside to the SSD is the storage space. I believe my PS5 has 825 or 850 gigabytes of storage. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's something like that. And I've already used up 300 or 400 gigabytes of that just with a couple of games, 4 or 5 games, and then a couple of apps. But yeah, I'm kind of worried going forward how that's going to work out. You could always just delete some of the stuff you've completed and then get other games, but it's filling up pretty quickly, especially with some of the sizes of the games that we're dealing with nowadays. I believe there is a way to increase the storage space by, just getting a new SSD and plugging it into the PS5, but I'm not sure how much that'll cost, honestly. It's probably going to be at least a couple $100. And, that's a decent investment, so not a lot of people are going to be able to afford that after getting a PS5, so, it's workable, but it's not the greatest situation in the world. Okay, those were kind of the main obvious things that you've probably heard in a bunch of other videos of people talking about the PS5. So the next thing is going to be something that was personally something that I noticed about the PS5, or I guess something that I experienced. And that was that I held out on playing a bunch of PS4 games just because I knew that I was going to get a PS5 sometime soon. And I'm actually really happy that I did that. I don't know if there are other people out there in a similar scenario, but games like Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon Zero Dawn, Kena, Bridge of Spirits, I guess that's kind of not really the same thing, but I held out on playing games like that, and I think it really paid off with being able to play them on the PS5. Ghost of Tsushima, you did have to pay for the PS5 upgrade, but I think it's like $30, but it's like totally worth it in my opinion, just because the game looks absolutely gorgeous and it works really well. You get all the DLC and stuff like that. It would have been nice if it was like a little bit less money, maybe like $15 instead of $30, but it's still a really good experience, especially if you haven't played the game yet. So right now, in addition to playing like Ratchet & Clank and some other PS5 exclusive games, I'm also going through my PS4 backlog because I actually only owned a PS4 original. I don't have a PS4 Pro because I didn't really want to buy a PS4, a PS4 Pro, and a PS5, so I just kind of held out on there. So I'm now going through a lot of the backlog that I had that, those games that were kind of optimized for the PS4 Pro and not really the original PS4. I'm kind of going through those games, but at least that's my plan. And honestly, it's working out really well, especially with Ghost of Tsushima. I am just in love with that game right now. It's really, really fun. I would 100% recommend it if you haven't played it yet. I probably won't do a review of it because it's not really, like my niche on YouTube, but I definitely recommend that game. It's amazing. Another reason why this whole PS4 backlog thing is working out pretty well for me is because there really aren't too many PS5 exclusive games out yet. There's probably, depending on who you are, like 3 to 5 games max that you'll be interested in. So, having a PS4 backlog of games to play is actually pretty cool. And that's kind of like one of the biggest problems that people have been talking about with the PS5 is just that there really aren't that many games. But from my perspective, that's actually a pretty good thing because, I got a PS5 like over a year late. So I still have a lot of stuff to catch up on, here and there, like Ratchet & Clank, Returnal, all these different PS5 exclusives. And then in addition to that, all my PS4 games. So, having a little bit of time to play these games is a thumbs up for me. I know that, before I got a PS5, I kind of had this mindset of like, I felt like I was late to the party, like I had been really late getting into the console. But, I'd like to say to people that are in sort of a similar situation that it's not the case at all. If you get in within like the next 6 months to a year, I'd say you're probably in pretty good shape, and it might actually be like the best time to get into PS5, because if you got in back in, last year, November, whenever it was, there wasn't really that much to do with it, I'm assuming. So I think now's a pretty good time to get in, and you're definitely not late to the party. Okay, the next thing is, I guess, another sort of personal experience that I had, and that was that I found there were actually a really good amount of apps on the PS5. It was very surprising. There's YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Spotify, Crunchyroll, Funimation. They had pretty much everything that you could kind of ask for, and that was a little bit surprising coming from the Switch, which I believe just got something very major, like just a few months back or something like that, right? It was like YouTube, or I don't think it was YouTube, but it was like Netflix or something like that the Switch just got. So having all these apps just lined up on the PS5 from pretty much the start of the console is very surprising and actually really nice. The PS5 has kind of become like my central media hub, I guess you could call it, because there's just all these apps, and it's just like right with my games. I can just switch back and forth whenever I want to, and it's pretty great. Definitely very, very surprising, but a very nice surprise. And that also kind of leads pretty nicely into my next big thing, which was the UI of the PS5. Now, I've heard kind of mixed opinions on this. Some people like it, some people don't. And I'm personally in the camp of I really like it. The one thing that I did not like about the PS4's interface was that you had like all these different menus within like the top, that bar section where you just kind of scroll through things. You had like your TV library, you had your media, you had all these different things like your games, and then like your game library. It was all mixed up in this like big bar, and you had to like go down into each individual section. It was very disorganized. I did not like it at all. But the PS5 sort of fixed that. It's just kind of, you're on one side is the games, and you just have your games lined up, and then you hit the right bumper and whatever, R1, whatever it is, and then you go over to your media library and you just have all of your apps lined up there. I like it a lot. It's very simple, just kind of play a game on, the left side of the menu. You're just playing, say, Ratchet & Clank, and then you finish doing that, you just want to switch right over to watching some YouTube. You just go back to the main menu, hit R1, and there you are, just right into YouTube. It's very elegant and it's very simplistic, and I like it a lot. The only kind of annoying thing for me personally about the PlayStation UI, the new UI, is the command center. Whatever it's called, that command center thing that comes up when you hold down the PlayStation button or whatever, it's just a little bit weird because the way that you have to bring it up is reversed if you're in a game or on the PlayStation menu. If you're in a game, I believe you have to just tap the PlayStation button to bring it up, but I always end up holding it down because that's how you would do it on the old Xbox One or 360, whatever it was. And I always just end up going back to the main menu and then having to go back into the game. And then when I'm on the main screen, I just do the reverse of that. It's just a whole mess. I just keep messing it up. I'm sure I'll get used to it eventually, but as of right now, it's taken a pretty long time to just get a little bit used to it. I just always end up messing that part up, so I figured I'd bring that up just as a little bit of a critique. Okay, now for the last thing that I have written down on my little list here, the haptic triggers and the enhanced rumble capabilities of the DualSense controller. Now, once again, you probably don't need me to tell you this, but it's pretty neat. It's not like to the level where it's mind-blowing just yet in terms of like the life cycle of the PS5. It's still kind of in its early stages. You can kind of tell, at least with the games that I've played. Ratchet and Clank, you just got kind of like the first trigger pull and then like the second trigger pull. It's pretty cool, but it's nothing that's gonna like knock your socks off, right? If I'm being 100% honest, I'd say, at least right now, a lot of the things that they've done with the triggers just kind of get lost in the game, like once you get used to it just a little bit, right? So for example, like Ghost of Tsushima, as you pull back an arrow and you like get your arrow ready, there's a little bit of tension on the triggers, and it's noticeable like for the first couple of times that you do it, but after that it's just kind of like it's just happening. You just do it. You know what's going to happen, so your brain just says like, oh, that's just the way this works. You're not really noticing it. It's just there, right? Which is not the greatest thing for something like this. It's like a big feature that they touted with the DualSense, but kind of just a little bit underwhelming in my opinion, at least at the current juncture. I could see potential for it to be really cool and have some really neat applications down the line, but right now, not super cool. It's cool that it's there, but I just want to see some more development there, kind of like the SSD, right? It just needs a little bit more time to cook in the oven. Now, the rumble is just a little bit better in its implementation in certain games, in my opinion. Probably because rumble has, it's been around for a while. We've had HD rumble for a little while too, so it's developers have had some time to work with that, but stuff like the triggers, the haptic triggers, whatever they're called, it's a new thing, so it's going to take some time to, really work out the kinks, but the rumble is pretty cool. There's definitely times, in Ratchet and Clank specifically, where, people will, say, clink some glasses together, and then you can feel that rumble, and you notice that, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's the rumble of the glass rumbling in it. It works pretty well. But, once again, it's just not to the level where, it's going to be really, really impactful to the game. But like I've been saying, that's kind of to be expected for stuff like the SSD, the triggers, the rumble. They're going to need some time to cook, so still pretty good for where we're at right now, and a little bit better than the triggers, but the implementation is not perfect or, near perfect yet. But anyway, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in terms of the PS5. If you're wondering what games I've played, I kind of mentioned them a little bit here and there, but I actually just beat Ratchet and Clank today. I played like 1/3 of Ghost of Tsushima, which is actually like a really long time. I played just a tiny bit of Horizon Zero Dawn. I played like the intro section, and I installed Kena Bridge of Spirits. So that's kind of what I've played so far. I'm looking forward to, some other PS5 exclusives. That's, I want to play Demon's Souls and Returnal, kind of the big two that I'm looking forward to right now. But I've also got my whole PS4 backlog, so I'm going to be working through that as well. Also, you've got all the new PS5 exclusives that are going to be coming out this year, like Horizon Forbidden West and the new God of War. Fingers crossed, at least. And I'm sure some other games here and there. But anyway, if you're like me and you are just thinking about getting into the PS5, or you're just getting it now and you're worried about, being late to the party, it's just not the case. That's kind of the big thing that I wanted to drive home in this video. There's not that many exclusives out yet, and even if you have a PS4 backlog like I do, I really don't feel like I'm late at all with PS5, so don't be worried about that. And If you happen to enjoy today's video, consider giving it a like. It's always greatly appreciated and helps me out a ton. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, consider subscribing as well. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this 15 or so minute video. It is always very much appreciated and means a lot to me. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one, which will hopefully be a video about the Wii Motion Plus if it comes in the mail from eBay. That would be great. And I can have that video out for you guys next week. And it's going to be a pretty interesting video in my opinion, so definitely look forward to that one. See you guys in the next one. Ack out. Oh, I forgot to talk about Final Fantasy XIV. One of the main reasons I wanted to get a PS5 was for Final Fantasy XIV because playing on a PS4 is less than ideal, so it's actually really awesome on the PS5, so if you play Final Fantasy XIV, definitely recommend. It's pretty sick. Ack out.